Well, we have a lot to get into because talk about a state of mind and perhaps a literal state in particular. We'll get into all that, but I want to start with how you two got into this entire experience. I'm super curious, what was your like respective levels of fandom with the show? Who wanted to get on? Was it always going to be the two of you? What's your Amazing Race origin story as a team?
You want Juan? You want me to start with this one?
Yeah, you can do it, brother.
Okay. Yeah. So Juan and I, we actually we knew the Amazing Race. We have seen the Amazing Race, but we were far from super fans, and that's not that's kind of a dig at ourselves because of how awesome the show is. But we weren't. I guess the way I'm putting it, we weren't super knowledgeable with the show, and I think that reared its ugly head at times through the show. So I run a social media. I ran a social media platform helping kids become fighter pilots, and it caught a lot of traction. And I was doing a live video one day, and then lo and behold, after the live video, CBS was in our inbox, and so they said, "Hey, we love we'd love for your friend Juan to come on the Amazing Race." And no, it was, they said, "Hey, we'd like you to try out for this." And I said, I'm kind of familiar with it, but what exactly is it?" And went into detail, and then they said, "We'd like you to grab obviously a buddy." And I was like, "Okay, how about a Beth buddy?" And they're like, "Well, that's too easy." Gave Wancho a call, and the rest is history.
Yeah, definitely. When Shane called me up, he was like, "Hey, man, like, what if we did the Amazing Race?" And I was like, "Ah, totally, dude. Yeah, that'd be awesome." Um, and so it was funny. He's like, "No, dude, like, we might have a chance to interview or apply for this." And it's funny because I had him on speaker with my wife, like, next to me, and I kind of looked at her. I was like, "Hey, like, would that be cool? Would that be chill?" Because at this point, I have like a 1.5 year old. And she's like, "Dude, you got to do it." She's like, "If you get that opportunity, you have to leap at the chance." And so obviously we got started. Like Shane said, we've been best friends since pilot training. Um, I was fortunate enough to be the one at the other end of that phone call when Shane picked up the phone, because it could have easily been any of our great buddies or his brothers or any, like, it was a privilege to be able to have been his partner. And like, if it wasn't for that opportunity of Shane grinding and doing everything he needed to do, then we would definitely would not have gotten this shot. Uh, and it was a wild ride the entire time. Honestly, the experience alone worth $1 million.
Absolutely.
It
Well,
was.
let's jump from the beginning to the end here because you definitely had the most up and down final leg out of the three teams, let alone maybe of teams I've seen in quite some time. Obviously, I'm sure you're feeling a certain way about the Eagles and all their paraphernalia after, you were guided to Pat's Pizzeria in New Jersey. And for what it's
Oh
worth,
yeah.
you make up so much time between the challenges to jump all the way to second place. I'm curious. I guess first off, do you know how far behind you were from Ricky and Caesar? And secondly, what was sort of your reaction as you were going through all that? Are you trying to keep hope alive, or do you feel in that moment as soon as you go to the wrong place, like, nope, we're done, $1 million out the window?
So as we were driving back from New Jersey, um, we were obviously extremely stressed out, and I think that was a good drive because we were able to kind of like clear our heads and clear the air. I was obviously extremely frustrated. Shane really helped to kind of level me back, um, and so we decided, hey man, hey, whatever it is, we're running our own race. That's exactly what we've been doing from day one. We're gonna sprint to the finish, no matter what the outcome is. So that's exactly what we committed to. And honestly, I think my favorite part of the episode yesterday was us opening up the leg at Gino's, and I was like, "Oh my god, we're in last place!" And we started laughing because we were like, "We're probably in last, but we're gonna have a great time anyway."
Yeah, do you know
Yeah,
by the time you would cross the Delaware River, like how far behind, how much time you had made up basically, but behind Ricky and Caesar?
we, we at this point, Mike, we're going against the best to ever do it. And at this point in the race, we knew that those are who we were up against. So you kind of saw a mentality shift, not a giving up by any means, but you saw the
Ever.
mentality shift because Juan and I went through a brief moment of we just lost the race, and we took our probably 2 to 3 minutes to really just kind of soak it in, realize that we just lost $1 million. And then we're like, dude, this is our last go. This is our last one. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's get our heads out of the gutter and like let's have some fun with it. And that's what I think you saw for the rest of the episode. We were having fun because Mike, we knew we lost. how much time did we lose to Ricky Cesar? I think they hit the mat about 40 minutes before we did.
Mm.
So it was over when we knew that they weren't going to make mistakes like that.
Mm. So you talk about a shift in mindset. I do want to focus on something that you guys actually mentioned, I think, going into the final leg, was that you had your own mindset shift about a few legs before that final leg of you saying like, hey, let's just race around the world together as best friends. How lucky are we that CBS slid into our DMs versus like, oh no, we want to take this home for our family. I'm super curious, was this like spurred on by any particular moment or any particular leg, or did it just come with time as the team started winnowing down? You're like, oh, we actually have a chance of winning this. Yeah, let's try to really, put the competitive focus on.
Well, I'll say that I think we kind of did a poor job of depicting our true competitive nature, because we were on the show to win $1 million. And
Mhm.
Juan and I, we binge watched about 5 seasons before, and Juan and I knew that we could win $1 million. And so we obviously were going to have fun because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, right? But we're some of the most competitive people that you'll probably ever meet. And so yes, once the team started whittling down, Juan, I mean, you can take it from there, man. We got families back home.
Oh yeah, and I would say that at the beginning, obviously, it's all about fun, it's all about soaking it in. But I would say that those first three fourth place finishes, and then followed by a fifth place finish, was kind of a dagger to the heart every time. Because if you aim first, you're last, right? Shake and bake. So Michelle and I were like talking to each other. I think what you were seeing was us shifting our point of views, like narrowing down on the scope of what we needed to focus on. Because, like I said, we're not super fans. It's an incredible show, but we obviously didn't have the experience that Danny would have, or Ricky and Caesar would have, or even Melissa, all being huge super fans. And so what we did was we would learn from the experience, and what you were seeing was the focus kind of narrowed down to the important rocks, and us kind of just like locking in into what was working and kind of getting rid of what wasn't working.
Yeah. So on that note, I do want to talk about, maybe some highs and lows, because you guys again had these really big variance moments. I want to talk about what happened in and not what right before Barbados, where you have, stomach bug or maybe some other affliction for that leg, and then it sort of culminates on top of some directional difficulties into your lowest placement of the race. You get beat to the mat by Yvonne and Melissa. You end up in second to last place. I mean, Juan, you speak about that sort of as you mentioned on the show as well, like we're a first place team finishing in the middle of the pack. What was your reaction to that? Was you just sort of writing that off as like, well, we weren't at our 100%, we'll be fine? Or was that something that truly did feel like yet another dagger to the heart?
I mean, it's definitely not easy because I mean we're pretty into it at this point, and we're receiving our worst place finish period. I know that there was definitely factors playing a part. I was personally out to lunch on that episode because I was just feeling like crap, and Shane, good on him. He was helping me out and pushing me as much as possible. Um, I would say that it would definitely hurt, but we knew we weren't going to go home towards the end of it. I think we were pretty secure in knowing that we were going to be the last place finish. And so hey, we just we it's like Shane says, we took our 2 or 3 minutes, got our head out of the gutter, and refocused, and got in the mindset of, hey, all right, we're leaving in the last place team. Next leg, we got to lock it back in. I gotta rest up. I gotta do what I gotta do. What do you think, Shane?
No, that was exactly it. We didn't at that point, Mike. It wasn't a dagger at all. Like, because we knew that we were going up against some factors that we couldn't control, and they had a small hand in controlling that leg. So when we finished in second to last, we were obviously very upset, very frustrated, but we knew that we were. That's not where we live.
Hmm. Well,
Exactly.
well, then we hop into this next leg in Barbados, where it really is sort of like the best and worst of sort of what has happened to you, right? Where like you talk about taking that time to calm down, and I really loved getting that moment to like look into your relationship, where Juan, obviously you're freaking out a little bit, you're getting lost, and you feel like this is it. Shane, you're taking those moments to help calm them down, and it culminates in you showing up to this detour in last place and leaving in second. And I can only imagine this emotional roller coaster that the two of you went on, as you were probably also going up and down through the hills of Barbados.
Yeah, we were. This was probably the moment in the race that Juan and I probably thought we were going home. When we were going through the mountains in Barbados, we had a couple conversations in the car, like, man, like this isn't looking good, buddy. Like this, we just start talking about you see the wives and the kids, and just because it wasn't good, like we weren't lost, but we knew that we were on top of the street, like 3 streets up, and we just couldn't find the dang spot. And then finally we get there, and we're like, all right, we got there, let's go. Like, because like we compartmentalize very well. I would say Juan and I do a very good job of compartmentalizing. So you take what's happening right now, you figure out what you need to do, you put it behind you, and you move on to the next task. So we put the car right behind us, and Juan goes, dude, we got to do the seaweed. I go, all right, let's do it. And Juan had obviously the decision of the season.
Yeah, I would definitely say that I definitely carried a lot of the weight of the previous leg's results on my shoulders because I obviously blamed myself for not being at 100. So I think that's where the frustration kind of originated from during the Barbados leg. Shane helped me to like just log it back in, and I mean we're like Shane said, like we were having conversations in the car, we were cracking jokes, having a good time, like we really bounced back. I think at one point I was like, you know what, dude, I think my wife might be too upset if I'm gone for too long. Maybe it's better I'm going home tonight. Uh, uh, but so in all reality, once we got to it, we obviously realized we were the last place team. And then I think we had a conversation there where it was somewhere along the lines of like, hey, brother, listen, like with the exception of Rado and Ticio, likely most of these teams are picking the fish trap. It's Hail Mary to him. We gotta go big or go home, literally.
Yeah.
And Mike, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that that's our way of dealing with stress. Okay,
correct. That was obviously jokes.
That is not what we truly believed. Like we were there for our families. We were there to change our lives. Like obviously, this is not what we wanted. Like as far as to get bounced, but that's how Juan and I deal with anything stressful. We crack jokes. Right. We smile.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say go big or go home because Juan, you went home. You had this very rare opportunity to go back to your birth city and to, get to look at a formative part of your past in a very different way. Now, granted, I imagine you were not necessarily taking as many looks around considering that you had a race run, but talk to me about that experience because, again, it is such rarefied air in the Amazing Race for contestants to get to do that.
I think it was an incredible experience and it was an incredible opportunity to be able to kind of share with Shane my origin story, if you will, kind of where I'm coming from, and for him to realize like my culture and kind of my background was amazing to share that with him. And I mean, obviously going back home and representing was incredible. I wish I would have finished a little better. And to be perfectly honest with you, I was like half the time I was genuinely concerned that I might run into a family member. At which point I was like, dude, I don't know what, like, we're gonna have to just ditch them. Like they can't lead us, they can't go with us. Like there's rules, obviously. But so every other second I was taking it in. I'm thank God that Shane actually like stepped up and did the roadblocks because it kind of gave me a chance to step back and really appreciate the kind of the surroundings and the reality of where we were. So I thought it was actually a phenomenal opportunity. And then I thought it was hilarious that they didn't tell me during the interviews, knowing that I was from Colombia.
Yeah, thank God I did.
Did your relatives, after they watched the episode, reach out to you and they were like, "Why didn't you stop by? What were you doing there?"
Oh, definitely. I got a few phone calls when I got back home.
Well, the last thing I want to ask is that, you guys had one of the more unique relationships in this season, considering that, you had built it through this very pressurized environment of flight school. But I'm so intrigued, racing together around the world in a very different pressurized environment. What is the biggest thing you learned about the other person racing together? Shane, let's start with you.
Oh man, what did I learn about Juan? Well, I reconfirmed that Juan is more like myself than I thought. We are very similar. How we deal with trouble, like how we deal with conflict, how we deal with stress, and that's just been bred into us through our training. And it certainly, to say it brought us closer would be an extremely underwhelming comment because we were best buddies going into it, but and brothers, but gosh, I'm pretty sure the blood runs deep now.
What about you, Juan?
Yeah, I would say that obviously Shane and I going through pilot training together, he was like my best friend going through that. He was my brother, somebody I could rely on. He was my buddy, that like my fellow pilot per se. I would say that the Amazing Race gave me the ability to, or sorry, the opportunity to be able to see how Shane had matured and become like this incredible husband and father that like is a great example for me and me. Because obviously Shay and I will be best friends till the day we die, no matter what, no matter where we are. But obviously, some time had passed with some distance, to where like we hadn't been able to sit down a lot. Like, and I hadn't had too many opportunities to sit down and have real conversations. And I think the Amazing Race gave us that. And I told Shane this last night. I think by far my favorite part of the Amazing Race was that night in Philly when we got there, just prepping up for the race. We had this big window, and we kind of just sat down in front of the window, turned the lights off, and just like talked, looking at the city. And it was a phenomenal experience. I'll take that night to my grave.
Yep. Amen.
That's awesome. Well, I really loved getting the chance to not only talk with you today, but watch it overall. I think to sort of watch your relationship from our perspective, go from what we kind of accept on the surface, like, yeah, these two guys are best friends, went through training together, now they're racing, to explore, I think, a really unique dynamic, especially in those moments of strife, of stress, to watch like the way the two of you interacted. I definitely sympathize as someone who also kind of gets through, very tough times with humor. I think you allowed us an opportunity for us to really get to know not only who you are, but like how you work together as well, which I thought was such a unique dynamic. So thank you too, not only again for showing that to us and getting to show us so much of yourself over the course of the race, but for getting the time to talk with me bright and early today to talk through everything. It's been such a great time getting to watch the two of you.
Well, Mike, thanks so much for coming out yesterday. We had a blast. Having you guys was incredible. Meeting you in person was a privilege.
Oh,
And I obviously I don't speak for Shane, but the Amazing Race was one of the best experiences of our life. And I mean, we did it for to share our faith and so people know how like, what's important to us, which is our families and our religion. And I think we did a good job of that, and I think we represented well. And I don't know, wherever invited back, maybe we'll take the gold this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, I wanted to say thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you yesterday. You know, to find ourselves here in this situation is an absolute blessing from God. And we are just so grateful to not only you, but to CBS, to the Amazing Race. We have so much love for everybody, and we can't say thank you all enough.
well, thank you guys for talking with me again this morning. I wish you and your families nothing but the best. Enjoy the continual basking in celebration, and looking forward to seeing what happens next, guys. You have a good one. Thanks again.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, have a good one. Bye bye.